intentions over resolutions. Reflection is just as important as planning. Mental health matters at the start of the year, and alignment creates sustainable growth. Hi, thank you for joining yet another episode of Get Set with Lissette. This is where we have inspiring conversations that empower you to get set. And this one's especially about empowering you to get set because we are going to be talking about the upcoming new year. So with that said, this New Year special is going to be reflective. It's hopeful and grounding. The new year often comes with pressure, right? It's about the resolutions, the reinvention of oneself, and the feeling that we need to become someone entirely new overnight. I believe, and this episode is going to be more about slowing that down, honoring where we've been, being honest about where we are, and setting intentions that feel aligned instead of overwhelming. One thing that I did the last episode, and I'm doing it again now since I don't have a guest, so I can't do like a this or that like I normally do to kind of get it going. I did another Did You Know? So on this one, since we're talking about New Year's, did you know the tradition of New Year's resolutions dates back over 4,000 years to ancient Babylon? It used to happen then when people they made promises to their gods at the start of the year as a way to reset, renew, and realign their lives. So we have been continuing this ancient tradition of resolutions, right? They did it from more of a spiritual aspect and the renewal and resetting of their intentions when it came to the ways that they wanted to show up for their gods. So again, if I find it interesting that, resolutions date back 4,000 plus years ago, they've been doing it and we've continued this tradition where they did it from a space and place of more. So I find it interesting how New Year's resolutions, for what it is, dates back, like I said, over 4,000 years, and they did so from a place of intentionality and resetting and renewing themselves from more of a spiritual standpoint, right? They wanted to ensure that whatever they did going into the new year, that they were setting themselves up and renewing themselves to their gods. And here we are maintaining that exact same tradition, but we've shifted from spiritual enlightenment and the ability to, align ourselves and really move forward on where we want to be from a spiritual standpoint and become much more about goals and goal-oriented and production focus, if we think about it, right? Like we're now coming, and again, it shows a shift of humanity. It shows where we've come as people versus way back when in ancient times, there was a lot of emphasis in community, in spirituality, in aligning yourselves and doing right. And again, whether you come from Christian faith, and by no means I am a woman of God, and I don't want it to get misconstrued. So yes, I believe in, my Christian God. But even if we think about it from that standpoint and, Babylonians that had multiple gods, there was still a spiritual standpoint. There was still a renewal and intentionality on getting their hearts right. And now when we think resolutions, we think about getting our pockets right. We think about the goals that we want to achieve, the money that we want to make, and all of those things are good. Don't get it misconstrued. But I find it to be interesting, which is why I wanted to throw that did you know out there, how we have shifted in our mindsets. And I think that is why we see a lot of people nowadays that carry more stress, more anxiety, because we're constantly on this rat race and this hamster wheel of the things that we need to do. So my question is, new year, new me versus same me, just more aligned. So, I think, I'm all about the vision boards. I think that they're a helpful tool, but they can also be pressure filled. And it's just a trend. I don't believe that we just come midnight have a change in where we go. So again, new year, new me, or do we do same you, just more aligned? So in understanding that this, idea came from more of a spiritual place versus performance based, why do we then see a lot of resolutions often fail? It's not necessarily because of the discipline, but it's because we tend to set ourselves up for failure. We're giving ourselves unrealistic expectation. If a goal is rooted in the shame of or the idea of comparison or competition, it's not going to be sustainable. If you instead are looking at who you are from holistically through and through and looking at aligning yourself and making intentional goals that are in direction of you, whether mind, spirit, soul, body, all of the above, but it's more of an alignment of self, those are going to then last a little longer because it's not based or created upon an unrealistic expectation of who you believe you are supposed to become, or who you believe, or what should I say, what you believe is what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm a personal believer of if I'm making goals. So again, are the goals coming from a place of desire, or are they coming from a fear of not being enough? You see, fear is not a sustainable motivator. Fear of anything is going to be short-lived, felt for but a brief moment of time, and therefore will not sustain itself futuristically. And so because of that, I am not of the mindset, and again, whether this is popular or not, but I'm not personally of the mindset of those ideas of new year, new me resolutions. One thing that I tend to do is be much more reflective, right? I am reflective of the woman that I am presently, the woman that I hope to become or want to be, and also the woman that I needed in my life at different points of time. I've shared this in episodes before that the reason for the platform in and of itself was because I wanted to create a space of being the woman that I so badly needed at different points in my life. In my early adult years, I found myself lost, uncertain, and in those moments, there was a lot of, self-help books and a lot of go getter, you got it, pull the bootstraps type of mentality. And I wanted to I couldn't relate, or I couldn't see myself in others. And in not being able to see myself, I then got to points where I didn't know if I should go left or right. And I didn't know where to go, should I say. And so this platform was created to be the change that I wanted to see in the world, to be a little moment of, and that's a Gandhi quote. For those that have been listening for a while, that's my favorite quote. For those that might just accidentally got onto this episode, welcome. But I live by that quote. That is my mantra. That is my quote of life. That is where I hope to be. I'm not one that sets things just to set it. I just want to be the change I hope to see in the world. And so rather than resolutions, one thing that I try to do is set intentional themes for the next upcoming year, or be intentional with, I tend to do it based upon more of a word. And I'll get more into what that looks like and what that means, and also exercises that I've used to do that. So some of the reflective questions that I tend to ask myself when I'm getting prepared for focus for the following year is, what drained me this year, right? And then in that same regard, what nourished me? Where do I want more ease at, right? Where do I want more courage to move into? And then also, where can I find opportunities for more softness, right? Where can I show up a little differently? And then based off of the answers to those questions, I sit with, so then where will that lead me, right? I'm intentional with where will that go then? And I sit with things. And one thing that I do is when I talk about words, so I'll talk about 2025. So the word for 2025 for me was authenticity. And so with it just being that word, where it came from was the year prior, there had been a lot of ebbs and flows of fluctuality in where I was headed direction-wise when it came to a professional sense. There was uncertainty in what direction I wanted to kind of go. I found myself in places and in spaces where I didn't necessarily feel like I was giving my everything, or I felt like I was muddled and or giving a different version of me. Because one thing you'll learn is that even in my worst moments, I will always show up authentically, true to who I am. But two truths can be true. You can still be authentic and have a level of authenticity in yourself while also battling who you are as an individual, which can then find yourselves finding it difficult in showing up authentically you, because you may not necessarily know who that is in that moment. And I want to let you know that that's okay. And so because 2024 was a year of a lot of change, a lot of shedding, should I say, a lot of letting go, I entered 2025 with authenticity being that word. And so with choosing a word rather than a resolution, I found myself just being more reflective. Am I showing up authentically who I am? Am I creating relationships that are going to help build the woman that I'm looking to authentically be? Am I making a platform that is authentically true to my message, my vision, and what I want to share in the world? Is the work that I'm doing authentic? Is the products that I put out true? And so you want to ask yourself those questions, and you also want to pause and reflect and think about what you need more of in the following year. And whatever it is that you feel like you need more of, let that be what guides you and leads you into the alignment that you may go through for the following year. Because you'll find, and I'm again only speaking from experience, you will find yourself, once you're more reflective in what it is that you need more of, where you need to be, what direction you need to go, and how to go about it. So I'm going to give you some top personal moments of my year that allowed me to maintain true to this word that I said. So instead of resolutions, I went for words. So let me give examples, real life examples. One being the revamping of this platform. I've shared many times that when I started it, I had a very clear vision, a very clear goal. And one thing that I noticed was that I needed to change the space that I was in for my own personal well-being, but also in that change where I found myself going. And also I wanted to pause to be sure that I was by no means doing something just for the sake of doing it. So there have been in this season of my life moments where I've had gaps in the producing of the show. I've had gaps and moments where while I made a goal for myself to drop new episodes on a weekly basis, I made a conscious decision that if something didn't resonate or if it didn't feel right to me, I would not put out content just for the sake of putting it out and just for the sake of the algorithm. Now, what that means for myself is that I have had a harder hill to climb when it comes to like algorithms and things of that nature, finding my audience and finding my people. But I am holding true that, what is it like? Long and steady, or like slow and steady wins the race. I want to believe that that's what it is. Slow and steady wins the race. I want to do that because I didn't want to vamp up and go too fast just for the sake of. I wanted to make sure that every and anything that I do, that I wholeheartedly believe it in my heart, that I'm staying true to my word of authenticity, and that I'm showing up true to self, because I believe that you can see past the fluff, see past the whatever, and at the end of the day, the person for who they are will just be present. Another personal moment that I'll share when it comes to authenticity and using that word as my guiding light has been, I'll try to give a little bit of everything. Professionally, I, again, am not just, quick plug, for those of you that are in the central Pennsylvania area, I am a licensed realtor, and that is what actually funds and continues to move forward this project. So if you or someone you know is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I'm your girl. Plug done. But I say that to say I practice real estate, and we are in a turning market. And again, there are so many different things that one can do for the sake of producing. I'm not that person. I believe in my heart of hearts, and knock on wood, no one that I have ever worked with are in bad situations. I believe in still staying true and authentic to myself. I want to make sure that I'm empowering the people that I work with, that I'm giving people information, so that all information, whether it's talking myself out of a deal or talking myself out of a job because I'm explaining to the people, well, based off of your goals, maybe right now is not the right time. Maybe this is not the time for you to do X, Y, and Z, even though people might be able to. I have found myself in multiple moments saying, wait and pause, and giving people genuine advice and staying authentically true to myself rather than chasing the dollar. And I personally, again, believe while this will maybe affect my bottom line or the amount of money that I make, in the long haul, I know that I can sleep well at night knowing that I've never put anyone in a bad situation, that I have maintained my authentic self and been true to people. And I am now in a place where, again, professionally and also personally, I have invested in opportunities, and I'm currently, more to come on that, involved in projects that mean the world to me. And I genuinely believe that these things have come about because I have made space to stop, reflect, and ensure that I am staying true to that word of reflection that I had for myself in 2025, which was authenticity. And that will guide me on all decisions rather than just doing something for the sake of doing it. In that same regard, I understand, and again, I talk about this all the time, New Year's is the same as Christmas. It's a time that brings a lot of anxiety, a lot of grief, and a lot of pressure. And those pressure comes from those New Year's, new me, the whatever. I gave you what works for me. I'm more of a word for the year and being more intentional. But if you still want to move forward with those resolutions, do you, boo. But do it and give yourself permission to move gently into the year. Give yourself those gentle reminders that you're not behind, you are on your own race. That rest counts, okay? It counts. Make space and time to rest. And that healing is never linear. You may feel like I'm on a journey of healing and I'm giving myself from January until March for this. That's not how it works. It's not linear. In order to go through that journey, you are going to go through ups and downs. One day you're going to wake up and feel amazing, and the next you may feel like you lost whatever that loss was just the day prior or in that moment. And it is okay to have that space. So this episode about New Year's special is about making space and saying that it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to not have it figured out. And there is no need for new year, new me. Just be authentically you. Align yourself and set intentions on where you want to go, and be reflective on what was, what is, and what's to come. Set intentions, not ultimatums, right? Build in rest from the beginning, right? Build in those moments of rest. Make sure that you have moments for that, and check in with your nervous system, right? And let us always make room and space to celebrate the small wins. If you woke up this morning, it is a win. If you were able to get out of bed and you have been dealing with grief and you've wanted to be in bed for days on end, and today you finally got out of bed and you got yourself into the shower, it is a win. Make those moments and allow yourself the ability to celebrate those small wins, however small or minute you might feel like they are, because a win is a win. And that's it on that. I also want to make sure that when I'm talking about this, and even in the direction that I'm talking, when it comes to like the becoming version of it, becoming is not starting over. It's not, again, a matter of like new this. No, it is a evolution of and a continuation of growth. You don't need a new identity. If you want one, go for it. If you want to reclaim or rebuild yourself, do it. But there's no need to have a new identity. All you need to do is have a deeper understanding of who you are, shed yourself of all of the accolades and all the things that you're supposed to be, and just find you at your core and understand what that is. Growth can be quiet and still, right? Growth can be meaningful when you just allow opportunity to sit in whatever you need to sit in. And so I wanted to just make sure that when I'm talking about this, that I'm not creating I'm not creating something to say, like, whether it's becoming and or that idea of the new year, new me. I want to be clear that like the rest aspect of it, the sitting with it, like there's still growth in that. If you're allowing yourself the ability to just sit and rest, there's growth in the fact that you have provided you that gift to do that. And you have to have trust in who you are becoming, and trust in yourself that where you're headed and where you're going is exactly where you're supposed to be. So one thing that like now let's kind of like move forward, because I don't want to drag this thing out too long. But one intention that I'm carrying into the new year, and that I'm encouraging all of you to carry, is that intentional rest. Like I've said in a lot of different episodes this year, I've talked about, the power in the pause. I've discussed, ensuring that like things that I put out, like that clickbait episode that I talked about, like I don't want to be just clickbait. And some of the guests that I've had the pleasure and opportunity to speak to this year, there's been an ongoing theme of self-reflection. There's been an ongoing theme of ebbs and flows and livelihoods. The most successful people that have sat here and spoken to, I can think, and I don't want to shout out one and not the other, so no names will be dropped, but in multiple episodes, I have shared space with people and they have talked about, the ebbs and flows of their careers and the opportunities that they've had, the importance of, making space, the importance of having champions behind them, the need for, being intentional with their words and with the work that they had going on, the knowing from childhood what it was that they wanted to be, but maybe not necessarily the direction or the how to get there, but it's always been there. So with those things said, I do feel in my heart of hearts that who you are becoming is exactly who you're supposed to be. Now, of course, if you or someone you know is dealing with things that are outside of that realm and you find yourself in a really dark space, like in those moments, maybe don't trust those negative thoughts that you're going through. Lean on, find someone to speak to. So the caveat for that, because I don't want to say trust all things, because not all things might be the right thing. But I do still believe that we know what our natural gifts are, what naturally brings us happiness, where we want to go. And I think that if we're just more cognizant of that and trust ourselves a little more and do not give in to the pressures of outside influence, that we will be happier, less anxious, and honestly more productive, because at the end of the day, when you create those spaces, you are in a position to go. With all of that said, some of my key takeaways from today's episode are intentions over resolutions. Reflection is just as important as planning. Mental health matters at the start of the year, and alignment creates sustainable growth. So again, new year, it don't have to be a new you. Let us find someone. If you know someone that's navigating those pressures, share this episode with them. Let us remove those new year, new me pressures. Let us be more intentional with where we're headed. If you already know the word of the year that you're going with, comment your word. I would love to start a conversation about what our words are going into 2026. And let's keep the conversation going. So happy New Year's, guys. This is going to be dropping prior to it, but happy New Year's. And as always, sending light, sending love. Bye.